We found a great place to buy a used car. Unfortunately, we're not invited. We'll find out why this week on Motoring 98.
TSN's Motoring 98 is brought to you by Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. And Midas Car Care, the way it should be.
Hello everybody and welcome to Motoring 98. You know, as much as we'd all love to have a brand new car sitting in our driveway, buying that car and negotiating the price, as many of us know, is not usually a pleasant experience. Well, do we have a treat for you this week? We're at the home of the Canadian Auction Group, and if you're a used car dealer, this is the only place to be. And as we're about to see, buying and selling cars has never been this exciting.
Well, there's about 1,000 dealers here today, and what you see is the free market at work. This is dealers selling to dealers. When they need inventory, when they're looking for product, this is the place they come. When they can't sell the product that's on their lot, this is where they come to get rid of it and sell it to somebody else, get the cash, buy more cars, take back to their lot so that the product is there for the consumers to buy. Well, we do about somewhere around 1,500 transactions every week, so the automation is very, very important. The dealers want to move through here. It has to be efficient, just like the stock market is an efficient process to sell stock. We try to make the car auction an efficient place to come and buy and sell cars. We really try to make this a one-stop shop for dealers in Canada, so they can come here, they can get their cars transported, cleaned, they can buy all the chemicals they need to clean the cars. We do mechanical work, we do paint work, we do chips and dents. We fix anything the dealer needs, so literally when he takes the car home, his only concern is selling it to the consumer and doing the value-added services that he does to help the consumer.
What do we got? How close are we going to be to that? Couple hundred? 10, 4, do the job?
Well, the qualifier's job is at the front end to find out what is the minimum price the dealer is prepared to accept for the car. About 90% of the cars that we sell are sold with a reserve bid. So the most important part to the process is to find out what that reserve bid is, what's the minimum number that the dealer is prepared to accept. And his job is to constantly work to try to make sure that the car is sold. We don't make a dime in this transaction if the car isn't sold. So that person's job and the qualifier is to get the bottom price that the dealer is prepared to accept and try to accelerate that free market environment.
What do we got to be on this car? Around 81. 81. You got any room? Like 75 maybe? 77.
Everybody's protected in the transaction. This is a very old process. It goes back to Babylonian times. It's a verbal treaty among men, and that's what auctions really work on. But oftentimes people's memory of any given transaction can be a little different depending upon which side of it you're on. So we videotape every auction. You have a wide view so you can see who's in the lane, who's bidding, who's taking the bids, and what's happening. And then we have a smaller version which shows any declarations and the price, so that there can't be any dispute about what actually happened in the lanes. And that doesn't only protect the auction, it protects the buyer and the seller, because anyone can make a mistake, and this just clarifies exactly what happens in the process.
We find the auction being the best way to remarket our vehicles. We find selling them at remarketing centers at our yard, we probably achieve $1,000 to $1,500 more per unit bringing them into an auction.
So are you buying or are you selling?
We sell. I dispose of them nationally across the country, and I use every auction that they have, right coast to coast.
You buy a car here wholesale. What's the average markup when it gets to the lot and the customer's looking at it?
By the time you recondition it and get it all ready for the front line, you're talking roughly, I have a smaller margin because we do bigger volume, roughly $1,400 to $1,600.
Per car?
Per car.
Is that about average?
That's about average.
What's happened for us is there have been a lot newer cars coming into the auction process, which has made it more desirable. More dealers come now because there is that constant supply coming in of newer cars that they can put on their lot, the cars that the consumers are looking for. So we're not selling quite as many old cars. 4 or 5 years ago, 30 to 40% of our cars would have been older than 5 years that we ran in the auction, and that number's dropped to around 10% right now. So the leasing has really brought the new car back out, and it's made the reliability go up. The newer the cars are that are coming into the marketplace, the more reliable the used cars are and the more desirable they become.
Somebody buy. What do you think, sir?
The idea of the used car dealer, I think, in the plaid suit is really over. Used cars are high quality, they're reliable, and it's very important to know what you're buying. Make sure that you're dealing with a good, reputable dealer. Most of the guys that come to our auction are, and you got to make sure that you know what you're buying.
62.
On a vehicle traveling at night, what is the minimum legal number of headlights and taillights?
Legal number of headlights and taillights.
You know, times and tastes are changing, and on this edition of Test Drive we look at the first of a long string of vehicles aimed at taking the boredom and the drudgery out of your daily drive. This is of course the all-new CLK, and as people turn away from sports utilities, Mercedes-Benz are hoping that this vehicle will be on your list.
While the CLK uses many C-Class chassis components, it does not share any body panels. The CLK also sits lower to the ground, sports the 4-lamp face of the more expensive E-Class, and to give it the hard-top look, the B-pillars are covered by the side glass. The CLK is powered by a 3.2-litre V6 rated at 215 horsepower and 228 pounds-feet of torque at 3,000 RPM. This engine is different for a number of reasons.
You know, at a time when everybody is scrambling to have multi-everythings, as many camshafts as they can get, as many valves, and the whole 9 yards, Mercedes-Benz has stepped back. They say because of diminishing returns. Indeed, this vehicle only has 1 camshaft per bank, 3 valves per cylinder, but what it does have is 2 spark plugs in each pot, and that cleans the emissions up by almost 40%. This Mercedes-Benz also uses drive-by-wire technology. The throttle cable ends right here, and between this unit and the engine there's an electrical wire. It allows them to control the engine with much more precision.
So does it all work? The answer is yes. It is smooth, the power delivery is linear, and because 85% of the torque is available below 2000 RPM, throttle response is good. The only transmission we will see is a slick shifting 5-speed automatic that is leading edge by any standard. Not only is it capable of altering the shift pattern to accommodate the driver's style, it can discern uphill and downhill grades.
You know, the only discernible drawback with the transmission is the fact that you can't drive it manually. Now, Mercedes-Benz insist you can. However, because the detents in this gear lever are not very well defined, it's all too easy to pull it back down into second. Because of this car's very sporty nature, it cries out for the old steering wheel mounted Formula 1 type gear shift.
Coupes by nature are sporty, and so the suspension design should be likewise. The CLK does not disappoint. With double wishbones up front and a 5-link design in back, the CLK flew through the pylons. Even when pushed, the body movement is minimal and the effects of oversteer are benign. Some may argue that the CLK is too well behaved for a sports car.
The trunk has been well thought through. First of all, these huge hinges won't damage anything placed up against the side because they're boxed in. You can release the back seats from right back here, and if you lift up the trunk floor, you get a full-size spare, a real rim, and the batteries back here to help with weight distribution front to rear. The inside of the Mercedes-Benz is nicely understated. You get a wonderful set of front seats, a great set of gauges, follow through to the center console, and all of the buttons are mounted nice and high so you don't need to take your eyes off the road to use them. Below them, climate controls, then the radio, and in behind the gear lever, you've got the power switches for the windows and mirrors.
Along with the usual four-wheel disc brakes and anti-lock control, Mercedes have incorporated something they refer to as the brake assist system. Under normal circumstances, the brake system works like any other. However, if the pedal is depressed very quickly, as is the case in a panic stop, the BAS kicks in to provide full tilt stopping power. The BAS works and exceptionally well.
You know, as more and more boomers become empty nesters, the demand for this type of car is going to grow. And as far as fancy two-door coupes go, the CLK is one of the best. And especially when you consider soon there'll be a ragtop version of this.
It's a 34 Lincoln. It has a 414 cubic inch motor, which isn't big. It only produces 50 horsepower. It's a V12, and then it's very comfortable doing about 55 mile an hour right now, the way it is. You know. This car was always chauffeur driven when it was new, when it was owned by the movie star Ned Sparks. His right name is Sparkman. I counted up 181 different, what we call the silent movies. And he also got into the talking movies. Lincoln made the car itself, but then the body was made by the Brun Coach Company in Buffalo. So there's only about 15 made, but at this point there is no other one registered of this caliber. But in 1959 I was working at the Ford plant in Oakville on the assembly line and got my relief brake, and somebody had thrown away the old Telegram newspaper. So I literally pulled a 3-ton car out of the garbage can.
Our Midas tip of the week concerns power steering systems and their special fluid. Typical power steering system on today's vehicles holds less than a liter of fluid. The fluid is not designed to be used up or consumed in the normal operation of the vehicle. So if you're low on fluid, it's because you've got a leak and you need to repair that leak. Now, when the system's low on fluid, you'll quite often get a yowling or howling sound out of the power steering pump as it cavitates. Sometimes you'll get a screech or a squeal as well. That's an indication that you need to fill up the system and look for the leak. Now, power steering systems use power steering fluid, and that's the only fluid you should use. Some people substitute automatic transmission fluid in a pinch, but you really should use the correct fluid for the system because in some cars you can get into big trouble. It's not expensive, and the right fluid will go a long way to preserving life of the components. If you have a front-wheel drive car, make sure that you change the fluid periodically, at least every couple of years, because that'll go a long way to extending the life of the rack and pinion unit in your car. Now, if you pull the fluid out and look at it, just put a little bit on your finger. It should be fairly clear and transparent or a slightly golden color. If it's dark or black, you've got some serious problems with your power steering system. That's your Midas tip of the week.
A portion of Motoring 98 is brought to you by the Solder Sealed Gunk family of automotive products, makers of Puncture Seal Gold and Liquid Wrench.
It was a Saturday night, Mother's Day weekend, 1993, a time to party with high school mates. But while returning home on a dark country road, the 20-year-old driver crossed the solid line to pass on a hill. The head-on collision would claim the lives of 8.
What is the one thing that you cannot do when your brakes are fully locked?
Mayfield.
Steer.
That's correct.
That is correct. Mayfield.
Some of the students came from Mayfield High. For the past 4 years, the school's annual transportation show has been held in the memory of that fateful night. This year, Jim Kenzie moderated a Jeopardy-style game that focused on driving safety and the tragic consequences of drinking and driving.
600 points, Roger. Light bulbs tend to burn out from time to time.
On a vehicle traveling at night, what is the minimum legal number of headlights and taillights?
North Park?
Is it 2 at the front and 2 at the back?
Is incorrect.
Incorrect. 200 points off for North Park. We've got Mayfield.
What is 1 at the front and 1 at the back?
1 at the front, 1 at the back?
That is incorrect.
Incorrect for Mayfield. We had North Peel.
6.
Total of 6.
Now, I want the number at the front and the minimum
Number at the front, number at the back. Anybody? They're going to pass. No, once you've had your answer, you're done. Michael, what's the correct answer?
Well, this was an easy question. There is 2 headlights minimum at the front and minimum of one taillight at the back.
So 2 headlights, 1 taillight.
We're off by 1.
We're trying to be proactive as opposed to being reactive. We're trying to promote defensive driving and safe driving, and you know, drinking and driving is not a cool thing to do, and so we're trying to get the message out there and be proactive.
I like to call it the triad, and what my personal triad is: young people, inexperienced socially, sometimes inexperienced drinking, no doubt, inexperienced driving. All 3 of those things independently, I think a teen can cope with. When you combine the 3, you've got a disaster.
You enter a 3-lane highway and there are no other vehicles ahead of you. Which is the safest lane to travel in?
We've got North Peel.
The middle lane.
Incorrect. The lanes don't determine safety, the driver does. They're all the same.
Whoa, that's a tricky question. Tricky question.
We have a SAD committee in our school, Students Against Drunk Driving, and they have been putting out a lot of effort to get students in our school to stop, because it is a big issue. I know there's a lot of emotion involved in it. People have lost a lot of people to drinking and driving.
Well, I think I learned my lesson quite a while ago, just out of the shock of the news and everything. But I tell other friends, look, don't do it. But I mean, there's still a lot of people out there, and quite a few people hang around with other people that say, you know, hey, it's cool, but we'll go ahead and do it anyway. But I know I won't do it.
At any given time, the Canadian Auction Group has close to 5,000 vehicles on the lot. Most of them are Ford Credit and off-lease vehicles. As for Chrysler and General Motors, well, they've chosen to do the majority of their business with the American competition here on Canadian soil. This auction group, of course, would like to see them bring that business here to a Canadian firm. Doesn't sound like a bad idea. All right, now let's head to the garage. Join Bill Gardner.
Well, Brad, this used car, new car, off-lease car thing is something that we're dealing with all the time. All our customers are coming in seeking out advice in many cases as to whether they should buy new or used or take that off-lease car. Here's how I advise them. If you're really particular about your car and you're passionate about vehicles, I think you're better, especially if you're going to keep the vehicle for quite a few years, I think you're better to bite the bullet, pay the big bucks up front, and get a brand new vehicle. You get to pick your color, you get the full warranty, pick your options. I think it's the best deal. Now, you pay through the nose for that, there's no question about it, but you're not buying somebody else's headaches. And a lot of people find out the hard way. They wish they had gone and paid the big bucks up front, and they don't find out until it's too late. Now, on these off-lease cars, they can be a really good deal because some of them are only 24 to 36 months on the road, and if the car's had the minimum of maintenance, that may be enough that it's still in quite good shape. And believe me, it's human nature that people that are leasing these cars, they know they're turning them in a short period of time. They don't do any more than absolutely the bare bones when it comes to maintaining and looking after that car. And in some cases, the things that they overlook or neglect or cut corners on come back to bite you later when you own the car. Now, if you're someone like myself or you're a little bit handy and you can repair things yourself and you don't mind shopping around and trying to save money on repairs, hey, there are big savings to be had, but it's buyer beware. Now, a couple of things that you should realize. Some of these cars are available with the balance of the new car warranty, or you can purchase a warranty. Some of the manufacturers are giving some pretty comprehensive warranties on used cars. Or in some cases, you can purchase warranty coverage from a warranty company that's other than the manufacturer of the vehicle. And here's a perfect example. One of our customers bought an '89 Chev Corsica the end of June of 1995. She purchased the car for $8,000 and paid $1,441 for a very comprehensive warranty plan. Now, after 31 months on the road, the engine block in the car cracked. Now, that's a pretty rare occurrence. Agreed. However, it happened and it required replacement of the engine. About $3,000 to replace the engine. There was fine print in this warranty that completely absolved the warranty company of any responsibility. The way it was worded, it said that the engine block was only covered if it cracked or failed as a result of failure of an internally lubricated part, and that wasn't the case. It looked like maybe an overheat condition that had caused this cracking. So the warranty company denied the claim, and they were quite justified in doing so under the terms of this agreement. Now, she paid $8,000 for the car, $1,441 for the warranty, and then another $3,000 for an engine. After it was all said and done, in hindsight, and isn't hindsight great, she wishes she'd gone out and bought a brand new car. It's too late now though. You're already stuck with this one. You got to keep going with the repairs. And this happens. Believe me, it does happen. Now, I wish I could give you the perfect answer, and I wish I could tell you that you could go out and save all this money on buying a used or off-lease car and have little or no problems. Some of you will, but when it goes wrong, it can go wrong in a big way, as she found out, and it gets quite expensive. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 98.
Kenzie's Corner with Jim Kenzie.
If there's one thing I hate more than a left lane bandit, it's the shoulder stealer. You know the guys I'm talking about. You're stuck in traffic, cars backed up forever, and some goofball takes to the shoulder and whips past everybody. He figures his timetable's so much more important than everybody else's. Shoulder stealing is not only the height of arrogance, but it's dumb and it's dangerous. Police, ambulance, and fire vehicles have to use the shoulder to get to the scene of an accident, and if their way is blocked, it could make the difference between life and death. The law is clear. Do not drive on paved shoulder. The police ticketed 150 of these jerks in one incident near Toronto recently. I say, go for it, fellas. Throw the book at the shoulder stealers. This is Jim Kenzie for Motoring 90.
We thought we'd end this week's program with a trivia question. Now, when it comes to horsepower, what is the most powerful sedan, four-door vehicle sold in Canada with a price tag of under $100,000? Your time is up, and the answer may surprise you because this performance vehicle is none other than the Jag, the XJR. Now, it comes equipped with the 4-liter V8 found in the XK8 with horsepower of 290, but adds a supercharger onto the XJR, and it'll boost it up to 370 horses with 387 pounds-feet of torque. Now, if you'd like to spend over $100,000, you've got your choice between the Mercedes-Benz S600, 389 horsepower, a price tag of $176,000, or the Bentley Turbo, 400 horsepower, and a price tag of $264,000. And you know, I never thought I'd hear myself saying this, but at $93,000, the XJR is a bargain vehicle. That's it for now. We'll see you next week as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
They really think they're simply having fun, but at the bottom line, they're learning at the same time. And you sneak a little bit of that in while they're having fun, and your mission is accomplished.
TSN's Motoring 98 has been brought to you by Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. And Midas Car Care, the way it should be.